Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
I promise I won't keep you for too long. I just thought that I could ask to meet you since it's lunch hour. If you can't make it, well, just meet some other time. Cindy quickly added, as she must have noticed Nicole's hesitation. Hearing this, Nicole smiled. Now that you've put it like this, it wouldn't be right for me to decline. Well, shall we meet at Regina Diner? Cindy asked. She was excited that Nicole had agreed to meet up with her. All right, see you later. Nicole hung up. As Nicole looked up, she suddenly saw Lulu, at whom she rolled her eyes. When did you come in? I knocked but you did not respond. Then, I opened the door and saw you talking on the phone, so I came in. Anyway, who's that? Lulu asked, curious about the invitation Nicole seemed to have received. Martin's friend. She wants to meet me. Nicole replied. His friend? Why does she want to meet you? Lulu asked in surprise. In response, Nicole shook her head. I'm not sure. I'll find out when I'm there. I'll accompany you then, Lulu said, volunteering to come along. They did not know each other that well, and the invitation was a little too sudden. On top of that, Nicole did not seem too keen with the idea of having lunch with a stranger. Therefore, Lulu became a little worried about her going out there on her own. Nicole looked at Lulu, and after thinking about it for a moment, she said, all right then. The both of them left the office building and arrived at Regina Diner after a short drive. Ms. Riddle. Cindy's voice blared out as soon as they had entered. Nicole traced the voice and looked toward from which it had emanated, and there, she found Cindy standing up and waving at Nicole. Come and have a seat. Nicole brought Lulu over, sat down and introduced them to each other. Lulu. Cindy. Lulu and Cindy nodded to each other, after which Cindy smiled and said, I know you. As expected, Lulu was shocked. How did you know me? It was their first time meeting each other, and Lulu had never met, let alone spoken to her before. Martin told me, of course. Cindy smiled. Basically, I got to know everything related to Ms. Riddle from him. Lulu blinked as if she had gotten to know what was really going on. She then turned her gaze to Nicole as if to say, she seems to be giving me love rival vibes. Nicole, however, could not help but roll her eyes at Lulu. Then she turned to Cindy with a calm look and a light smile. Did Martin mention about us often? Not really. I was the one who kept asking him about you. Cindy flashed her a nervous smile out of embarrassment. Wait, why would you even do that? Lulu was curious. Why would this lady be so interested in knowing someone who she's only met once? Is she nuts? Cindy stuttered, not knowing how to answer the question Lulu had thrown at her. Sorry. Was I rude? Don't worry. Nicole smiled and said in a gentle tone of voice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you like Martin, don't you? What? So that's why. Lulu came to her senses. As it turned out, Cindy was not interested in them. She was just looking for a way to capture Martin's heart. Hearing this, Cindy hid her smile and nodded. You guys knew. It's pretty obvious. Lulu nodded. After returning the smile, Nicole asked, so, you invited me here to ask me about something? Yeah. I actually would like to learn from you. Cindy's cheeks flushed as she coyly said. Learn from me. Nicole frowned. What does Cindy even want to learn? Lulu was also stunned. She repeatedly blinked at Nicole, trying to understand what Cindy was talking about. Nicole shook her head as she did not know what Cindy was really after. Cindy then continued, Martin likes you very much, so I would like to know what I can do to touch his heart. She was hoping that Nicole would be able to impart some tips and tricks. That way, Martin would fall for her. Nicole furrowed her brows upon hearing that. How do I even teach someone something like this? I didn't manipulate Martin into falling in love with me. Lulu's jaw was left hanging. after which she frowned and curtly asked, "What are you trying to say? Are you implying that Nicole seduced Martin into liking her?" Cindy's face turned pale as soon as she heard the response she had garnered. "I'm sorry. That was not what I meant." Cindy could tell that Lulu and Nicole had misunderstood her request, and she realized there and then that she might have phrased her question terribly. Thus, to clear the air, she quickly explained, "What I meant was that the both of you know Martin better. What should I do to become a potential partner for him?" "Ah, that is so much better," Lulu replied with a laugh. "I'm sorry. I phrased my question horribly. Here's the thing. I really like Martin, and I don't want to lose him." Cindy bit her lips and said dejectedly, "But what if you still fail even after we've helped you?" Lulu asked in concern. After all, no one could guarantee success, as Martin would have to accept Cindy for it to work. "If that's the case, it'll be fine," Cindy replied firmly. "At least I tried." If she still failed after trying, Cindy would just accept her fate. It would just prove that Martin was not her soulmate. She would, however, come to regret it if she did not put in the effort to win him over. "You came to San Joto because of him, right?" Nicole assumed, sounding as if she could read Cindy's mind. By the second meeting, she had already guessed the reason as to why Cindy had come to San Joto. She wanted to become Martin's partner and run a research lab together with him. In fact, she did all that just so that she could spend more time with Martin. Cindy was just trying to create more opportunities to bond with one another. Cindy was blushing as she replied, "Yes, it's because of him." "That's not a bad idea. Being in close proximity gives you the upper hand. We've got your back. Well, you seem pretty nice, so I guess we can consider you a friend too." Lulu patted Cindy on the shoulder. "For real?" Cindy asked, taken aback. From the day she moved to San Joto, she had not made a single friend. If she was not hanging out with Martin in the lab, she would constantly be on her own in her apartment. This had made her very isolated and lonely. Otherwise, she would not have forced herself to meet Nicole. All things considered, Cindy was a lot more familiar with Nicole as compared to the others, although they had only met once. "Thank you." Cindy's eyes welled up, for she had finally found company. "All right, let's eat first. As for what you requested, we'll tell you about Martin's preferences first. As for the rest, I'd advise you to take it slow. Although you've got the upper hand, things would still have to progress gradually for feelings between the both of you to develop," Lulu said as if she was a relationship expert. "All right, let's dig in. We'll talk while we eat." Cindy became excited at the mention of Martin. The ladies had a fun and merry lunch thereafter, filled with nothing but laughter and incessant chatter. Even when the meal had ended, they were reluctant to part ways. "I can still hit you both up, right?" Cindy asked. "Hey, feel free to call us when we aren't busy." Lulu smiled. Although it was their first time meeting each other, Lulu could instantly vibe with Cindy as if they were old friends who had met after a long time apart. "Anytime," Nicole agreed with a friendly smile. "Thank you," Cindy said. She was touched by their gesture of kindness, as she finally had people in San Joto whom she could call friends. Now, she would not have to feel the sting of loneliness anymore. "All right, you should head back," Lulu reminded Cindy, seeing that lunchtime was over. Everyone got into their rides, bade their goodbyes, and went their merry way. By the time Nicole and Lulu returned to the headquarters of Riddle Corporation, they already had a pile of documents waiting for them. "I still have a few documents to go through, so I'll be returning to my office now," Lulu informed after they had exited the elevator. Then, she made a beeline for her office, while Nicole sauntered back to hers. They just had a good lunch with Cindy in the afternoon, so Nicole was in a great mood. After Nicole had entered her office, she sat down and buried herself in her work. Sunset arrived in the blink of an eye, and when Nicole stepped out of the office building, Jared was already at the entrance waiting for her. With a smile on her face, Nicole approached the car, opened the door and got in. "You've waited for very long, haven't you?" Nicole beamed as she asked Jared. "Not really," Jared gently held both of her hands, his eyes gentle and affectionate. Leaning her head on Jared's shoulders, Nicole stopped and put herself at ease. "Why? Are you worried about something?" Jared asked in a soft voice. He could tell that Nicole was in a different mood today. "It's nothing. I just made a new friend, and I found it interesting." Nicole smiled. "Martin's research partner?" Jared asked, knowing who Nicole was referring to. This shocked Nicole, who replied, "How did you know? Was it Patricia?" "I guess so," Jared answered without giving her a detailed explanation. As a matter of fact, Patricia was just reporting to Charlie when she mentioned that Nicole was eating out for lunch in passing. Knowing that it was probably Charlie who had brought it up during lunch hour, Nicole simply nodded. "She just invited me out for a meal all of a sudden and asked me about Martin." Nicole briefly explained, knowing that Jared would not be interested in the details. As expected, Jared did not even bother asking for more. Instead, he changed the subject of the conversation. "Charlie has received some information about the Eastern Falcon. The men working behind the scenes are very secretive, so we don't know who they are yet." "Can't Charlie look into it?" Nicole asked, surprised and curious about who they could be. However, Jared simply shook his head. "I've already ordered Zane to look into it." "Zane?" Nicole frowned, after which she slowly turned to Jared as her eyes welled up. "How is he doing?" All of a sudden, Nicole's memories of Zane came rushing back. It had been hidden in the deepest recesses of her brain for a long time now, and no one had been able to unveil them. Therefore, there must have been something of great significance to her in that sudden recollection. Nicole's eyes were brimming with tears as she felt a dull ache in her chest. It was such a familiar name, but it had always been hidden in her deepest corners of her subconscious. In fact, she had never experienced such a massive surge of feeling, but when she did, it struck her like a punch to the heart. "They're doing fine. When you first came back, I'd already informed him that you wouldn't be around because you've lost your memories. But don't worry. He has been asking about you. Since you remember him now, you may contact him." Jared stroked her hair softly and comforted her. "Let's go home first," Nicole said, having a mix of feelings at the thought of contacting Zane out of the blue. She was feeling unsettled, as if her heart and mind were at odds with one another. "All right, we'll go home then." Jared gave her a warm and gentle hug, comforting her. "Now that I can recall the past, it feels like a lifetime has passed since then." Nicole sighed. Although she had been regaining fragments of her memory from time to time ever since she returned, Zane and his organization were much like family, just like the Riddles, both of which held an important place in her heart. "Actually, I was not the only one searching for you all these years. Zane had been trying very hard to find you as well. Thankfully, you returned, and everyone has been a lot more at ease since then." Jared patted Nicole in the shoulder. Even if she did not return, none of them would give up, and they would continue their search for her forever. Still, one could only imagine how hurt and sad Nicole felt. "They must have despaired countless times when they failed to get any leads on my whereabouts." After all, Crescent Island was far and remote. It was disconnected from the outside world. On top of that, Nicole had lost her memory, so it was normal for them to fail during their search. Realizing that she had an odd look on her face, Jared asked in a low voice, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Nicole shook her head. Then she looked up at Jared and smiled. "I was just thinking back about my life back at Crescent Island." Nicole was living a carefree life on that little island. While she was raising the two kids, she had even thought about settling down at the island permanently. Yet, what she did not know was that there were many people out there who were genuinely worried about her. They were sparing no effort in searching for her while trying not to fall into despair. Perhaps that was the period in your life when you were at your most relaxed. Jared held her hands. In fact, Jared was grateful that she had gotten to experience that, given the fact that she had been fighting for her dear life for the longest time. All that mattered was that Nicole was alive and well. To top it off, She had also returned to San Giotto. Jared could not imagine how his life would turn out if he could not see Nicole anymore for the rest of his life. The car came to a halt, and Nicole turned to look outside just to realize that they had reached home. The both of them got down from the car and entered the living room, where Daniel and Gloria were seated. "Dad. Mom." Nicole greeted. "Good evening, Daniel and Gloria." Jared followed. The couple then went to the couch and sat down. "You guys are back. Nolan and Lana haven't returned yet." Gloria looked at the both of them and turned her gaze to the hallway. Usually, the little kids would have returned by this hour. Just as Gloria had spoken, Nolan and Lana ran in happily. "Daddy, Mommy, Grandpa, Grandma, my little babies are back. I was just talking about the both of you." Gloria smiled, happy to see Nolan and Lana. "We saw Dad's car just now, so we knew that Mommy and Daddy are back. We even called out to them, but too bad they couldn't hear us." Lana lifted her head with her lips curved. "I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't notice the both of you there." Nicole patted the two little ones in the head. "Nicole, they were really loud. I told them you won't be able to hear them, but they still continued shouting." Tia entered with a smile on her face. Nicole watched as Tia walked in and returned her smile. "Thanks, Tia." "Oh, it's nothing. I quite like picking them up from school," Tia said. Tia had taken a liking to picking the twins up for kindergarten, so much so that it did not feel like a chore for her anymore. Instead, it was the most relaxing part of her day, as compared to the rest of the things she had to do on a daily basis. "How I wish I could go and pick them up from kindergarten every day. Those little munchkins are too cute. It's like all my worries would just vanish into thin air each time I see them smile." Tia mentally sighed. "Everyone's all here?" Stanley asked. "Hey, Daniel." "Hey, Gloria," Cherry Jean greeted from behind. Everyone turned to where Cherry's voice was heard, all with frowns and grimaces plastered across their faces. After an awkward pause, Gloria came to her senses and chirped, "Cherry, you're here. Come have a seat." Cherry politely greeted everyone in the room before linking her arm with Stanley's as he guided her to both of their seats at the table. Cherry avoided Nicole's gaze, and that was when Nicole understood that Stanley had informed Cherry about it. If she knows what is happening, things are going to get ugly real fast, Nicole thought with a smirk on her face before turning her head around. Nicole was puzzled, unable to understand what had gotten into Stanley to make him think that introducing Cherry to the entire family would be a good idea. "I guess I have to wait and see how this will play out now," Nicole concluded. "Nicole, I think I should get going now. Let me know if you need me," Tia hurriedly said as soon as she noticed Stanley and Cherry walking into the room. As she was about to hightail it out of there was a look of unease written all over her face. Nicole instinctively glanced at Stanley, who was standing there in silence. Then, she nodded at Tia. "There's nothing much here for you to do anyway. If you want to, you can go home and chill out." Nicole was hoping that Tia would understand her offer. She could stick around if she wanted to. However, Tia proceeded to bid everyone goodbye before skedaddling. Stanley had a complicated look on his face that was rather difficult for Nicole to read. He was staring at the direction where Tia had made her exit for a good minute before coming back to his senses and turning to Daniel and Gloria. "Mom, Dad. Cherry wanted to visit you guys, so here we are," Stanley said. "Cherry, I heard the news a few days ago. If it's okay for you, could you tell us what's happening?" We wanted to ask Stanley, but with him being the stubborn fella he is, he wouldn't utter a word, Gloria complained. "Gloria, please don't misunderstand my father's intentions. He meant well, but Stanley and I think that we should wait for a while before we move on to the next phase of our lives together," Cherry pouted as she wrapped her arm around Gloria's. "What do you think?" Cherry asked. "I have no objections if you two are fine with it," Gloria grinned. "Gloria, you're so understanding. If only my parents were as open-minded as you are. I might just be one of the happiest people in the world." Cherry sighed. "You silly goose. Your parents love you and cherish you very much. Gloria chuckled as she reassured Cherry. Overwhelmed with emotions, Cherry's eyes began to well up. It's quite a shame that they don't know what I truly want. If Cherry had always yearned for the love from her parents, but unfortunately, she had never received any. Stanley, upon noticing Cherry's change in emotion, quickly stepped in and said, "Mom, Dad? The food is almost ready. Let's eat." "Oh, right, come over, everyone. Let's have dinner," Gloria invited. Cherry looked around, and the instant she noticed that Tia was missing, she asked, "Is Tia not joining us?" Stanley frowned. "She's not coming. She usually eats with Mrs. Wallace Sr. in the back. She rarely joins us." Cherry, who had linked arms with Gloria, happily chirped, "I'll go over and visit her after we've eaten dinner." Cherry had taken a fond liking for Gloria, in spite of knowing that she would not be with Stanley. She envied him for having such an amazing mother, and if anything, Cherry actually felt at home under Gloria's wing. Ever since they met over a blind date that Gloria had set them up on, Stanley had made it clear to her they would not progress beyond a relationship which Cherry could be on board with. On the other hand, Cherry loathed her family for setting her up on blind dates without her consent. She did not want anyone to interfere with who she wanted to be with. She had, for the longest time, been standing her ground and protesting that she was old enough to make her own decisions. At the dinner table, everyone chatted with one another happily. However, once the meal was almost over, Cherry slipped away to look for Tia. Nicole, who noticed this, shot Stanley a look of concern at once. Stanley shook his head at Nicole as a response. He knew that Cherry and Tia were not fighting over him and that Cherry was a compassionate person who would not look down on or asperse others. Above all, he knew Cherry's intentions very well and thus decided to let them talk it out on their own. With her family urging her to get married as soon as possible, Cherry had been left with no choice but to leave. She was left with no choice but to flee and leave behind all she had known. Nicole eyed the smug look on Stanley's face, and suddenly, something occurred to her, causing her to drop the idea of telling him off. Perhaps he has already gotten things figured out and doesn't want to use his and Cherry's relationship as a cover-up for his true feelings anymore. But then again, Cherry could be the one trying to tie them both down. It would be an uphill battle to make a man stay when his heart is already somewhere else. "Mom, Dad, we'll head upstairs now. Get Stanley to send Cherry back later," Nicole told her parents. Catching the hint from Nicole, Gloria proceeded to warn Stanley. "Yeah, make sure you send her home safe and sound." "Yes, Mom," Stanley replied. Everyone then returned to their rooms. With Nicole being one of the last to leave, she gave Stanley a firm look before heading up with Jared and the twins in tow. If I don't instruct him to send Cherry home, he would just leave her there to go home on his own. I doubt he's still thinking of Tia, Nicole thought. Meanwhile, at the house in the backyard, Tia was taken aback by the Cherry's sudden appearance. "Why do you look so surprised? We're still friends, aren't we?" Cherry asked Tia, who looked well and truly unimpressed. "Yeah, we are," Tia awkwardly replied. Tia did not have any intention of shutting Cherry out. She already had a hard time trying to accept Cherry and Stanley's relationship as it was. But unfortunately, she had not found the courage to do so. She thought it would be a good idea to have some time to herself and process her feelings slowly. However, Cherry had cut straight to the chase. "Tia, do you like Stanley?" Tia's face flushed, becoming as red as a tomato, and she vigorously shook her head. "Please don't misunderstand me. I don't like him." "The more that you deny it, the more I'm convinced you do," Cherry teased as a smile played out on her face. "If you have genuine feelings for him, it means that his efforts aren't in vain." "No, I think you have misunderstood me. Mr. Riddle and I are never getting together, and it's not what you think it is. He has finally found someone he truly likes, so please cherish what you both have," Tia panicked. "How am I supposed to explain this to Cherry? I don't want her to misunderstand me. I don't want to be the cause of their breakup," Tia thought. For the first time in a long time, he openly announced his relationship with her to his family. For him to do something like that takes a lot of courage. He must have thought very highly of her. I don't want to be the third wheeler here, Tia continued. With an expression of sympathy on her face, Cherry looked at Tia and said, Tia, have you never once considered that the person you love shares the same feelings for you too? It was at that moment that Cherry understood why Tia was so afraid of crossing the line. She cares much more about Stanley than I've previously thought. Cherry then reflected on how Tia had reacted when she attempted to pair the two of them together. Whenever Cherry tried to create opportunities to bring them both closer together, Tia would crumble into a panicky mess. My efforts have pushed her to the point where she would guard her emotions even more fiercely. I'm afraid that dragging this on in the long run will obliterate whatever feelings they have for one another in the long run, Cherry inferred. It was at that moment that Cherry began blaming her parents again for how things had turned out. I would not have gotten in the way if I knew it was going to mess the both of them up. I wouldn't have done this if my parents weren't as pushy as they were. Then, an idea suddenly occurred to her, and she reached out to grab Tia's hand. Listen to me, okay? Stanley really likes you, and whatever it is that is happening between Stanley and I, it's all just for show. Tia was rendered speechless at an instant. It's all for show? What Cherry said had left her in complete disbelief. What is she blabbering about? To be honest, I was just helping Stanley out with a mutual favor for each other, Cherry began, after which she told the entire story in full detail to Tia. Why are you telling me all of this? Tia asked, her brows furrowed in confusion. Because I'm going to be leaving soon. Cherry smiled. I'm going to live abroad with my true love where we will both be free from all that nonsense. So you have a real boyfriend? Tia asked while struggling to wrap her head around the information Cherry had filled her in on. She found it difficult to process what Cherry had just told her, and at this point, she could not help but wonder if this was all just a dream. Yeah. Why would I lie to you? Stanley has done me a huge favor, and I'll be damned if I don't return it. That is why I came here to talk to you about this. Cherry explained. Oh, Tia murmured as the realization dawned upon her. If Cherry's leaving, Stanley and Cherry are not really together. If that's the case, Stanley and I... Tia trailed off. Tia, I'll have you know that Stanley genuinely cares for you. I'm 100% sure that you have a special place in his heart, but he's under the impression that you have feelings for someone else. Is that true? Cherry asked, serious and unsmiling. If Tia has feelings for someone else, why would she be more affectionate to him? And if she does not, then why did Stanley interpret it that way? She pondered. Ha! Tia looked at Cherry with her head tilted and her forehead creased. Wait, no. Stanley thought I had feelings for someone else. Having caught a glimpse of Tia's expression, Cherry immediately understood the situation between them. To be honest, he's just a lone wolf who's gotten too used to doing everything by himself. I won't be surprised if he grows old alone. I don't even know what I should do with him. He's not even sure about who he likes, Cherry thought. Actually, it's not like that, Tia said in a faint whisper. In response, Cherry looked at Tia and busted out laughing. You two really are a match made in heaven. They truly are two peas in a pod, she thought. Tia's face became beet red as she went into denial mode again. No, it's not like that. Alright, I'll stop here. You guys should sort this out between yourselves. I'm going to leave in the next few days, so I hope I won't do anything that'll make me regret it, Cherry said as she stood up. She gave Tia one last look and said, Tia, I hope that you won't do anything you'll regret either. Then, she patted Tia on the shoulder before turning around and walking away. Tia sat there in a daze as Cherry left the room. This is a dream, isn't it? Everything just came rushing out all of a sudden. I can't believe he doesn't have a crush or a girlfriend all these whiles. But what did she mean when she said Stanley thinks that I have feelings for someone else? Who else does he think I like? Tia pondered. Tia felt lightheaded as she dragged her feet back to her room. I think I need some time to process all of this information. I can't think properly anymore. Seems to me that a lot of things have happened under my nose. Meanwhile, Cherry had just made her way to the living room. And when Stanley saw her coming in, he quickly stood up. I'll send you home. Sure. Cherry chirped and followed him out. Stanley, the only person Tia has feelings for is you. You better go ahead and win her heart, Cherry teased and smiled. Stanley could not believe what he had just heard, so he gave her a blank stare. In turn, she simply looked at him and shrugged. Hey, you should just man up and win her heart. Stanley maintained his silence as he got into the car. Cherry went on to ride shotgun and turned to look at him. Hey, come to think of it, I'm actually curious about how you came up with this idea that Tia likes someone else. Like, what is it that made you think of it that way? This dude has the wealth, the looks, and the brains. But it's a wonder that even though he's got everything covered, he's still so self-conscious, she observed. Meanwhile, Stanley, whose mind was racing, maintained his silence. How could Tia not have someone in her heart? I thought she liked Martin. But how is it possible that she does not have the hots for him? Noticing that Stanley was being way too silent, she understood that he was most probably a little too shocked to say anything at this point. I've done all that I could. We're even now. I won't be back for a while, and quite frankly, I feel kind of reluctant leaving you all behind. She sighed. Cherry really enjoyed being around the Riddles, and she cherished them deeply. Eventually, Stanley broke his silence. You'll come back eventually. Treat me to a meal before I leave as a parting gift, she joked. Stanley nodded seriously. Sure, no problem. Consider it done. I hope there will be progress between you and Tia the next time I come back. Cherry smirked and joked to lighten up the mood. Stanley nodded faintly, hoping that it would come true. He then ignited the car engine and drove them away from the Riddle residence. Meanwhile, Nicole had just returned to her room after tucking the twins into bed. When she heard the engine revving at the garage, she immediately knew that Stanley was sending Cherry home. I really did not expect that Stanley would make a deal with Cherry to do something like this, she muttered as she shook her head. I wonder how Mom and Dad will react when they discover the truth about Stanley and Cherry, she thought. Nicole then theorized. If Stanley and Tia had gotten together earlier on, perhaps Mom might have a milder reaction as compared to what she's dealing with now. Jared, who remained uninterested, gently caressed Nicole on the shoulder. It's getting late. Let's head to bed. Nicole still had a lot on her mind, as she had been worried sick about Stanley. I guess I'll leave the rest to him. After a slight pause, she looked up at Jared and smiled. You can take a shower first. I have a call to make. Jared immediately understood Nicole's intent and made his way to the bathroom. Okay, but don't take too long. Nicole took her phone out and dialed a number that was all too familiar to her now. Then, Zane's voice blared out from the speaker. Nicole. There was a tone of surprise as he greeted her. Suddenly, Nicole felt an overwhelming surge of emotions. Zane. Zane issued a massive sigh of relief at once. Since you're calling me right now, this must mean that you remember everything. Nicole bit her lip, trying to maintain her composure. Yeah, I remember everything now. In a low and solemn voice, Zane replied. Welcome back, Nicole. Zane and everyone else had been worried sick about Nicole. They had been trying to discover her whereabouts for the longest time now, and her phone call to Zane finally lifted the weight off everyone's shoulders. Nicole frowned. Welcome back. Is this supposed to be a signal that I am back in the organization? Nicole had fully recovered from her amnesia, and now, it was clear that she was once a member of the Zane Spears organization. Hearing that, Zane teased. I was about to remove you from our organization so that you could lead a peaceful life. However, this only confused Nicole. Didn't I submit a resignation letter before this? Zane busted out laughing at that instant. You didn't, but I knew you were preparing to submit one after you got married to Jared Johnston. However, we didn't think you would get into a plane crash and vanish off the grid for such a long time. Despite Nicole having never mentioned it before, Zane knew that Nicole would have persisted in ensuring her resignation was finalized just so that she could put her family first. Even after the accident, her retirement was imminent. Nicole going off the grid for nearly 5 years since the plane crash was something that no one was able to foresee, and while a great deal had happened ever since then, none of them had given up on searching for her. By the time the Zane Spears organization got word of her whereabouts, Nicole had returned to San Giotto, much to their disbelief. But upon learning that Nicole had suffered from a case of severe memory loss, they had decided to distance themselves from Nicole as a gesture of respect. They did not wish to bother her anymore, allowing her to live the rest of her life in peace instead. Zane was very thankful that Nicole had returned to her family regardless of the fact that she had lost all of her memories. Either way, he knew she would have resigned. Naturally, his reply took her aback. "I think I did have this idea 5 years ago, but everything that had happened ever since the incident had spiraled out of control. No one could have seen that coming. I'm sorry I had everyone worried about me for the past 5 years," she apologized. "I can't imagine how hard they've worked to find me over the past 5 years. The amount of efforts they have dedicated to the search effort is just immense." "It's fine. You're back now, and in one piece too. I think that's good enough for us." Zane smiled. Nicole was suddenly reminded of her friends from the organization, so she asked, "How's everyone doing?" In return, Zane assured, "Everyone's doing fine. Don't worry about it." And after a moment of hesitation, Nicole sighed. "I know I agreed to resign after everything that has happened, so I'll do so after this." Zane paused for a moment before asking, "After this?" A firm and solemn look crossed Nicole's face there and then. "I mean, it's crystal clear at this point that this incident happened because of me. I can't just sit here and do nothing about it. Whether I am involved with the Zane Spears organization or not, one thing is for sure. I can never be left to live in peace." She sighed. Understanding what Nicole meant, Zane asked, "Are you referring to the Eastern Falcon?" Nicole was dead serious. "Yeah, I can't back out now." Zane pondered for a moment, whereupon he agreed. "Since we can't avoid this, we might as well work together once more. However, you don't need to come over to HQ to do any field work. You can stay where you are now and provide us with intel. Don't hesitate to let us know what you need help with." As long as she doesn't put herself in danger, there shouldn't be a problem, he thought. Nicole nodded. "Sure, no problem. I'll handle the side of things here at San Giotto and leave the rest to you." To that, Zane sternly replied, "Okay. If the Eastern Falcon is thinking of making a return, we won't hold ourselves back this time around," Zane thought, determined to bring his adversaries down. Nicole sighed as she hung up, and she reminisced about the days when she was still an active member of the organization. Near-death encounters were commonplace back in those days. Then, Jared came up to Nicole and whispered in her ear, "Have you called?" Nicole tilted her head and looked at Jared with a smile on her face. "Yeah, I just called." Jared gently ran his fingers through Nicole's hair. "He must have pulled all of his hair out worrying about you." Nicole nodded in response. "Yeah, I know." She could not imagine how terrible Zane must have felt upon learning that she had crashed. After that, Nicole bit her lip and mumbled, "He said that I can officially resign from my post after we have dealt with the Eastern Falcon." Jared saw a flash of reluctance in Nicole's face, and so he offered, "You know, if you don't want to resign, you don't have to. You don't need to abandon what you love just because of us. You can keep doing what you enjoy." However, Nicole shook her head. "I know I'm reluctant to resign, but sometimes, tough decisions must be made." Nicole resonated to herself mentally. "I've been missing for the past 5 years, and now, I have a family of my own. I can't be running around with the organization battling criminals and mercenaries all the time. I guess my exit is the best solution for both parties." Jared immediately caught on to what Nicole was trying to tell him, and gave her a back rub. "I want you to know that I'll be here supporting you every step of the way." "Thank you," she said, her heart skipping a beat. Jared then looked at Nicole with a soft smile on his face. "Go take a shower and join me in bed." Agreeing with Jared's suggestion, she got up and made her way to the bathroom. Shortly after, Nicole climbed into bed, wrapped herself in Jared's arm, and fell asleep with a smile of contentment on her face. The next day, the sun shone warm and bright as Nicole entered the headquarters of Riddle Corporation. The instant she placed her belongings down, Lulu came walking into Nicole's office with a serious look on her face. "Take a look at this." Nicole frowned as she grabbed the documents. Lulu's face, on the other hand, was scrunched up into a sour grimace. She was completely bewildered by Harvey's shameless behavior. Like, what on earth is he doing? Is he dumb or something? Nicole furrowed her eyebrows and shook her head. "I think it's because Thomas has rejected his proposal, and it's driving him nuts." "And so?" Lulu snorted. "If Thomas has refused to help him, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that he'll go that far to screw with Nicole," Lulu thought. With a sneer on her face, Nicole said, "He really believes that strengthening our ties together will benefit both companies. However, he has not taken into account that it'll be much harder for us to separate what's ours and what isn't." Lulu blinked and gave Nicole a blank stare before the truth dawned upon her. "So what you mean is that he's doing this on purpose to bind both companies together so that you'll never be separable." This made Lulu fuming mad. I do have to give it to him. Such a brilliant idea riddled with so much wishful thinking. He really should know that we aren't mindless puppets which he could manipulate however he likes. "Yeah, I guess you can put it that way." Nicole sighed. "This dude is becoming more juvenile with each passing day." Lulu looked at Nicole with a look of impatience written all over her face and asked, "What's the plan? Are we going to take the upper hand in this situation or?"
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.